21 days until November 3rd, Election Day. That's what we traditionally call Election Day, but many of us are voting as we speak. Millions of people are voting across this country. The final 3 weeks of this election will be like nothing we've ever been through, and that's not just rhetoric. I know they say that every time around. So let me explain. It is not just that so much is at stake in the election itself, the presidency, control of the Senate, state legislatures. It is also the huge decisions being made between now and the election. Usually, non-electoral politics closes down during the last 40 days. But here it's ramping up. The vaccine, a stimulus bill, and biggest of all, of course, is the Republicans began their process of forcing Judge Amy Coney Barrett onto the Supreme Court before Election Day on November 3rd. They may have the votes in the Senate to do it, and if all of the Republicans stay healthy enough to vote, they will get her on the Supreme Court. But what they don't have is the country's support for this warp speed confirmation process. It is our job to make sure that they pay the price of the ballot box for this usurping of power, because it's not what the people want, as the polls suggest. If Democrats do everything right during these last 3 weeks, political historians may say that the Republicans traded the presidency and control of the Senate for a conservative seat on the Supreme Court with a young justice. Red state senators are feeling the heat. Most remarkably, look at Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, Trump enabler, and chair of the Judiciary Committee, which opened hearings on Amy Coney Barrett yesterday. Jamie Harrison, my former colleague at the DNC, has a real shot to beat Lindsey Graham and has raised a record $57 million last quarter for that seat. He would be the first Democrat elected statewide in South Carolina in more than 20 years. Graham is pleading for help. The stakes are very high. Winning the Senate is crucial because if the Republicans succeed in embedding their conservative majority in the Supreme Court, the power and responsibility on a series of issues will shift back to Congress, and in many cases to those state legislatures that Democrats have lost control of. So control of the Senate and control of the state legislatures is control of the right to choose. It is control of the right to vote. It is control of the right to organize. It is the control of the right to push back against these right-to-work states. I'm not into vote shaming. Each of us does decide, but I am recognizing what is at stake. And I am a believer in voter persuasion, which is what I am trying to do here. This is much bigger than Donald Trump, way bigger than Joe Biden, way bigger than neoliberalism. The Republicans have been rehearsing for years for this election. They have been practicing their techniques to suppress, deter, and intimidate voting. They have been recruiting lawyers. They have been undermining mail-in balloting for years in races that were inconsequential because they just wanted to practice. And they have been perfecting their arguments for going into court after the election to challenge the results. They've also been packing the federal courts with conservative judges who hear those arguments. Amy Coney Barrett is just the final piece of their long-term plan to control the courts. This is why turnout matters so much. Close elections are the lifeblood of Republican lawyers. Sam Cedar at the Majority Report says we need an extra 10 million votes so that when the fight gets to Chief Justice Roberts, even he won't want to reverse the popular outcome. If one of the many cases that's likely to be played out makes it to the Supreme Court and it has to do with a few signatures were signed or a mail-in ballot was stuffed, will Roberts tool with the right and against a 10 million popular vote? That's what I want to know. It really will come down to possibly an opinion. And is it worth it in the end? I'd go even further. We need not only an undeniable popular vote margin, we need an electoral college landslide, even if some of those states are narrow Democratic wins. And we know what the criticisms of the electoral college are, but the stakes are so high, and that is why turnout matters. The more work the Republican legal army has to do to reverse the election, the harder it will be for them to get away with it. So the polling may look good at the top of the ticket, but polls don't decide elections. We know that. We saw 2016. Counted ballots decide elections. The Republicans are lined up in depth to suppress voters and to challenge their ballots if they do vote. And at the top of the ticket it's only part of the fight. We are in a progressive moment in history. We have a shattered economy, a failed public health system, a country that knows something is wrong. But to convert that moment into change, we have to have all the levers of power. We probably won't have the Supreme Court. So this is all the more reason we have to win back the White House, the Senate, and as many local offices and state legislatures as possible. I'm saying the Democrats. Progressives then have to win over those local seats so we can put pressure on Democrats, so we can outvote them in our own caucuses. Like Pennsylvania, which is a key swing state, they have an opportunity to win back the House and a growing progressive caucus in that state. This is what is at stake in these next three weeks, and we're going to be here with you through Election Day. Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.